Welcome to Save As Ability, a podcast to educate and inform you about disability employment issues. My name is David D'Arcangelo, and I'm your disability policy expert. Hey everybody, welcome back for another episode of Save As Ability. Today, we're providing clarification for the different types of disability that people like to talk about. We've gotten some comments and questions around this. Now, we're not talking about prevalence types here. Just to be clear, if we look at the American Community Survey as an example, they measure 6 different prevalence types, and combined, those prevalence types equal the whole population of disability. Well, prevalence type is hearing, seeing, ambulation and mobility and, independent care, self-living. So all of those, we're not talking about the 6 prevalence types. What we're talking about here is the manner with which disability is measured, okay? So that's the aspect that we're going into today. We're going to clarify when we're talking about disability, because I think when people are looking for information, whether you be a person with a disability or a parent with a disability, somebody interested in disability for some reason, you're like, well, wait a minute, which disability are we talking about here? Are we talking about the people who have very significant disabilities? They're a quad with a breathing tube, or are they talking about somebody with back pain or diabetes? There's a large spectrum of people with disabilities, right? And so all of those come with like some limitation or some substantial limitation, and that's the dis in disability, that lack of, right? But again, which are we talking about here? That's what we're going to try to clarify a little bit today. All right, so let's get right into it. So really there are 6 different primary measurements. There's more, but in the United States, we're going to focus in here because we're having a large kind of policy conversation here about these 6 different ways. And again, not to be confused with the 6 prevalence types. What we're talking about here is, and I'm reading right off of my notes, the first one is the Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance System, or the BRFIS, okay? That, if you look at that, that's measurement-wise around 61 million people with disabilities under that definition, under that rubric, and, under those criteria for that survey, okay? And then you're talking about the Americans with Disabilities Act. This is another one. This is another large one. This is meant to protect people from discrimination, okay? Well, if you use that, we're talking around 56 million people, but it's a slightly different definition, slightly different set of criteria, okay? Then we're talking about the Rehabilitation Act. Oftentimes, when we're having discussions here about employment, this is the definition that is one of the most important, because many of the programs devised for people with disabilities in employment revolve around this definition. Well, if you use that definition, now that's around 47 million people with disabilities, okay? On to the next one, which is the Census Bureau, the American Community Survey. Those are the 6 questions that they ask. That's large, and that impacts all people with disabilities from 0 years old or 1 year old all the way up to, 100 years old or whatever. That's one of the larger definitions too. That's around 40 million people with disabilities. But again, it's a different set of criteria. They ask different questions. It's around difficulty and limiting and things like that. Now let's talk about Social Security, the Survey of Income and Program Participation, or the SIP rather, not Social Security, but the SIP. That definition brings in around 28.5 million people with disabilities. Okay, so you can see now, well, wait a minute, how can we have all these different numbers? And then finally, the Social Security Administration, these are people that are getting benefits from Social Security for their disability, okay? That's around 10 or 11 million people, depending upon how you measure Social Security and SSDI if you wanted to combine those, all right? So look at the range that we have there. We have an upper range of 61.5 million to a lower range of 10 million, something like that. Yet they're all people with disabilities, and these are all policies that are in, it starts really in federal code, and then it's up to the states to administer, and then, our people are getting are involved in these programs, right? So we're saying this because when people talk about people with disabilities, Well, which disabilities are you talking about? Are you talking about the people that fall into the 61 million group? Or are you talking about the people that fall into the 10 million group? Or are you talking to the people that fall in the ADA definition, the 40 million group? This matters when you go to calculate. So oftentimes you'll see a paper or a study that comes out, and they're talking about people with disabilities like they're representing all people with disabilities, but really they're talking about one of these specific groups, one of these specific definitions. All right. So I know it can get confusing, but I wanted to make sure we're clarifying here that there are these different ways of measuring it. There are these different definitions, okay, and these different tools that are used, these different programs. Again, whether it be the SIP, the BRFIS, the ADA, Social Security, the ACS, we haven't even gone into some of the others like, the current population survey, which is, it's very similar, but it's actually administered a little bit differently. And, the methodologies are a little bit different. So that's going to produce a little bit of a different number. Okay. So all of these variations matter when it comes to very specific programs and extending those programs to the end user people with disabilities. Okay. So it's like, well, sometimes people have in their head the archetypal, metaphor of a person with a disability as being one thing, but then you look at these programs and you can see that it's really geared towards, that many of these programs are really geared towards, all people with disabilities, apparent, non-apparent, the different types that are measured in the ACS. Actually, I don't even know at this point. Am I confusing things more, or am I helping to clarify? I hope I'm helping to clarify here that these sources and citations matter, and these programs and these definitions matter when it comes time to talk about programming for people with disabilities and outcomes for people with disabilities. And we don't want to be transmuting one definition and then using another number population to describe it. That's not really accurate. Okay. So again, I'm trying to clarify here. This came in from a user. If you want more clarification, or if I haven't been clear enough, let me know in the comments. We're trying to improve this. We're trying to harmonize these. We're trying to modernize these and make them more clear and apparent to help our people with disabilities, to help America. The goal here at Save Visibility is to improve our human condition. It's a lofty goal, but we keep trying. I hope this was helpful. We'll put these links in the chat, in the description, so you can look at them yourself. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Keep those thoughts and ideas coming. Please like, subscribe, share, comment. We appreciate you. Keep it on going. David D'Arcangelo, Save Visibility. I hope you have a great day. For more information about disability employment issues, please visit our website, disabilityemploymentsolutions.com. The Save As Ability podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our YouTube channel at Disability Policy Expert, or wherever you stream your podcasts. Subscribe, stream, rate, and review our shows. Your ratings and reviews help our show reach new audiences. Produced by Pod Pro Entertainment. Save As Ability lives within a network of podcasts located at podproentertainment.com. #TheNewRadio. Again, my name is David D'Arcangelo, and I'm your disability policy expert. Until next time, thank you. I hope you have a great day.